Well, our last analysis, Teamfight Breakdown, we took you to hell and back in one teamfight. This time, we're coming in with a bit of a different vibe. It's what people call the LCS El Clasico. Team Solo Mid, or TSM as they're now referred to, versus Counterlogic Gaming, CLG as they're now referred to, in a very grueling matchup in the lock-in tournament. This will decide whether or not either of these two teams will kind of make it further into this tournament as a top 2 seed. Who knows, as we look and dive straight into Champion Select for this game. So, let us get into our first round of bans. Now, I could be a bit more loosey-goosey with these because there was a load of these champions mentioned in the previous Anarchy analysis video, so I'll give a brief summary on to why these champions are getting banned, but if you want the full definition as to why I'm saying this, just check the previous one. It was FlightQuest versus C9. I'll have a link to it at the end of the video or in the description if I remember to. Anyway, first champion ban, TSM removed the TF. They're on blue side for this game, and the reason they're removing it is TF is very powerful because of the roam game he provides, and what's more important is TSM lost to this TF in their first game of the tournament against 100 Thieves, and it's just a very strong champion. You've got an insta stun that's just point click, gold card, boom, there you go, you're stunned for an eternity. You've got Destiny, just TP you across the map, because why not? It makes team fighting extremely fun and hard to deal with because you can just go behind the enemy team and just beat them that way. Anyway, let's move over to our next champion. It's the one from CLG is Pantheon. Pantheon has been banned by pretty much every team in this tournament purely because he's just too powerful, because he just has so much CC in his kit. He also has a teleporting ultimate, and he just does tons of damage as a support. Why do you have so much power in your kit? That's one of the biggest questions about Pantheon right now. TSM removed Talia, another pick that they lost to, ironically, against 100 Thieves. Talia is just a very efficient jungler. Single target damage is out the roof. Just bop bop bop, then rocks into anything realistically, clears the jungle quick, and then can force plays with other champions like the Renekton if you see it in the top lane. Anyway, CLG's second to last ban in this first phase is Orianna. It's a comfort pick for Power of Evil. He is known for this, and obviously it being removed is very, very good. Shockwave can just do tons of work in teamfights. Shields on the E. You've also got speed ups. She's a very powerful robot that just does tons of damage if she's able to, and you do technically have them supporting your builds for her. Last band from either side now. TSM removed the Gnar. I'm actually surprised they removed this and not the Renekton, because of the fact that Huni has shown that he can play this pick very well in their previous matchup against Golden Guardians, absolutely shutting down the Baron fight against them, and I'm actually shocked they banned it here. They probably could have let it go through and, I don't know, picked it whenever they need to, because it's still a solid top laner that they can kind of go back to if they need to. Lastly, CLG banned Victor. A lot of target towards PoE is cool. He's shown the Victor before. During Worlds, I do believe he showed it as one of his more comfortable control mages, but it's not a pick that we see too often banned. It has a lot of damage. You do have to itemize into the Hex cores to get the upgraded abilities, but that's the only time you have to actually invest money into it. And it's why he's still technically powerful, as he has a stun in his kit with the gravity field. He also has his ultimate that just does a lot of damage and can stick onto you for a long ass time. The lasers and the Q just do tons of damage as well. Okay, so let's get into our first round of picks. And for this first pick, TSM actually go big. They go for probably the biggest available thing that usually gets banned. It's the Olaf. Why is this so impactful? Well, let's get into it. Olaf is one of these champions that have received a lot of buffs with the item changes. Mainly with his W being super duper strong now. And why is it so strong? Well, the sustain healing that he gets back is through the roof, especially when you have a guard ring paired alongside it that just goes all the way up to full health, and you just do tons of damage because you can run through enemy CC for days with your Ragnarok ulti. Yeah, he's very good, especially with the Undertow having cooldown reset if you pick it up. He's good, very strong, hard to deal with, not something people like playing against. As for CLG's first round of picks, I guess they go for the very strong response. Kaiser, S tiers, ADC picked up. Immediately you're thinking, okay, well, that's a lot of damage picked up and it can just execute people once they get the collector. That's why Kaiser is very powerful now. She does a lot of work with that. And Syndra just removes a control mage out of PoE's pool. PoE is just a control mage player who doesn't play many assassins. He did, I remember, hover the Akali in this game, but I don't think he would ever go towards it. Lastly, the Syndra as a whole is very strong because she has a lot of damage. She has multiple CC in that Scatter of the Weak, who just does a lot of work, especially when she has that execute ult in the Unleashed power. Looking at Azir and Jhin as our next round of picks for TSM. Azir, good response into Syndra, honestly. It's this control mage that can just dictate fights by getting in behind enemy teams, scooping them into their team, and just executing them off outright with the rest of the team's damage. And when you see it paired alongside a Jhin, it's an alright combo, I would say, because Jhin can, in theory, do enough damage in a team fight by just firing shot after shot, but it is a lot of time between shots, and Jhin is more so known for the picks rather than his full-fledged team fighting ability, even if he does pack a massive punch. Last pick now for CLG is Graves, and I'm not too... I don't like Graves when it's going into an Olaf. I get you pick it because the smoke screen can just nullify Olaf's effectiveness, but Graves technically is a very hard farming scale up to late game champion, similar to Kaiser. And when you have multiple AD sources that want to just scale up and get to the end game, you do lack early game power, and that's a big issue, especially going up against TSM, who have an Olaf, very early game jungler who wants to make plays. Jhin, who has a lot of early game power as well, with the amount of damage that 4th shot does early is still incredibly high. And then you've got to deal with the rest of TSM's draft to come through, which makes it even more unbearable for CLG. So, second round of bans are kicked off with CLG removing some playmakers. Thresh removed out of the hands of Sword Art, which is not a surprise to me because Thresh has just been popping off in solo queue for support because of that hook control. Just throw it out, land it, then you bring in a target that's easy to be executed off with a Jhin nonetheless. That's a very powerful combination. What's more is that Thresh has got the Dark Passage, which just makes it very hard for enemies to lock down your team and just execute them off. That's why you tend to see Threshers hovering further back from their carries, allowing them to step forward and then just yoink, come back to me to safety, and there you go. That's why Thresh is getting banned here, because they don't want Jhin to have any safety at all on the CLG side of things. What's more, TSM respond in likes. Set, removed off the board. High amount of engage. Obviously, with the rest of the picks coming through so far, would either be top or support. More than likely support realistically as a pick. He's just very powerful with the ability to just flash whenever you like and then just use your face breaker. Boom. A lot of damage in his kit as well with a haymaker. It's a support that just shouldn't be allowed to be picked up at all. Last bando from CLG this phase is Lulu. Now, Lulu is kind of just that protective all-round enchantress that can just provide safety to any ADC with the wild growth. Just pop them up, make them big, make them unkillable, and what can the enemy team do? What's that? Oh, you're going to try and execute them by jumping on them? Boom, wild growth, knocks you back, and there's a lot more damage coming to your face from the carry that's buffed up. Lastly, from TSM, they removed the Rel, and Rel as a whole is a good ban against CLG, because the previous match for them, Smoothie whipped out this pick and actually did fairly decent on it, using its kit very well. Lastly, I would honestly say Rel has a lot of engage, a lot of tankiness, but the only issue with her is she has very little damage, so teams tend to just ignore her in actual team fights and just focus the carries, because she just sits there and does nothing. So, let us get into our last round of picks, starting with CLG locking in that goddamn Renekton. I swear we're going to see this almost every game, whether it's picked or banned. It deserves recognition as a pick. It is very, very hard to deal with as a lane bully. The only real picks that can do such a thing is a Quinn or possibly a Gnar, but Gnars aren't the best into Renekton, let's just be honest. Now, Renekton has a lot of sustain in this kit. The Call of the Meat plus Gore Drinker combination people go towards just heals him up to top, and he's just going to be able to just slice you to death. That's why he's so powerful and why people tend to just go towards him when they need to play in the top lane. The response though from TSM as they finish out their draft is not to go for the Quinn to counteract the Renekton. They instead go for some things they lack. Hard engage. Immediately, the Ornn gets locked in. Great tools in his kit to just long range engage with that Call of the Forge God. He also has brittle procs that just do tons of damage. And he can just dictate where people walk with his pillar that he just creates on his Q. He is one of these champions that are very hard to deal with, especially being incredibly tanky. And also the fact that he provides a lot of scaling options for his teammates, because guess what? He upgrades your mythic item into a masterwork item. That is his best quality in my opinion, and something that people don't tend to discuss anymore because Ornn hasn't been too prevalent as what he used to be. Now, the last pick for TSM side of things is probably the most interesting pick of this game. It's a Maokai. And Maokai is a support that's rose to fame across the globe. This is the first time it's coming into the LCS, and what better player to pilot it other than Sword Art? And yeah, this pick you tend to see go with Staff of Flowing Water and Imperial Mandate. Why? Well, you get so much bonus movement speed out of them two items for your team, plus extra damage onto targets when the Mandate proc is basically activated, and yeah, very powerful champion and just has so many CC tools to activate the Imperial Mandate that not many people tend to deal well with Maokai. He's granted as a support a bit less tanky, but is a lot more usable and viable in the current meta. And that being said, going into an Alistar support, I honestly feel the Maokai is favoured in this matchup because, yes, the Alistar can negate the CC like Olaf can, but it's only a one-time active, and Maokai has 2 stuns in his kit. He has his Twisted Advance and the Nature's Grasp, both of which can just lock you in place for a goddamn long time. And plus he also has his Q, which does technically knock you back as well. Anyway, enough rambling on about Maokai into Alistar, which I feel Maokai wins hands down. Let us get into our teamfight breakdown, where the focus is around a dragon. For today's video, I wanted to focus on the Soul Point dragon fight. And to start with, I want to analyze both teams' positions before any real fighting kicks off. CLG are controlling the river entrance, looking to collapse onto TSM once they enter the actual river, with Renekton going to come in from the right. They also have the Alistar and the Kaiser coming in from the left, with the Graves and the Syndra gonna come from behind. Now, TSM play this quite smart. They don't actually fall for this. They only send Huni into the river to scout ahead because he is the tankiest member on TSM's side and could probably survive a lot of the bursts that would be sent his way. Now, he immediately walks back out of the river, and this is where TSM exploit the setup using the Call of the Forge God onto the CLG backline of Graves and Syndra, who are trying to come in from behind. Now, this is done to either A, burn the summoners out of the jungler and the mid laner, but obviously Graves can use his quick draw to get over the wall to safety. What's more, he was the main target for TSM in this fight because he's the guy that can stop the Drake take by TSM by just smiting it away. And as such, TSM want to get rid of him as quick as possible. Alongside, though, the Call of the Forge God being used, Maokai's Nature's Grasp is chucked into the 4 members of CLG, and it's able to snag up the Alistar as Jin whaps open the curtains and fires them 3 shots into the Alistar and then the 4th into the Kaiser. Now, this is where TSM decide to focus the isolated Renekton in this point, and they chase him all the way around the Dragon Pit. However, Renekton's able to get back to his Graves, as on the other side of the fight, CLG managed to pick off the Maokai, who is kind of straggling behind the rest of his team. Now, the kind of trader kills has come through here. Renekton for Maokai. There's now a 4v3 man advantage in favour of TSM, and TSM decide to turn their eyes to the Drake that CLG was trying to just steal away from them as they chase down the Renekton. And because they use their man advantage well, and Graves is on the other side of the Drake pit wall, TSM are able to easily secure themselves the dragon. Once this happens, Azir decides to skip and slide for the Emperor's Divide onto Kaiser, scooping her into the Viking hammers of Olaf, giving him a kill. And on top of that, Lost, my friend, lands a smexy deadly flourish onto POB, making him a captive audience to his own death. And with that, there's only one target left in the fight, and it is Graves, who's gone over the wall to try and steal the Drake, but way too late, and Jin just lands that 4th shot of death, executing him off, giving TSM an unofficial ace as Smoothie had respawned. But what that means is the Barons are off the table that CLG had, and TSM have Ocean Drake and are gonna look to end this game. Well, that's gonna end this Teamfight Breakdown, and that was actually a really good game by either side. And the reason I'm saying that is CLG are playing with 2 subs. The 2 players that they originally had in their top and jungle aren't in NA just yet, or they are now, but because I'm recording this, Friday, the day of the next round of the lock-in tournament, but they're still looking quite strong. It's a lineup that I had eyes on for quite some time. As for TSM, they're showing a lot of different styles in how they play, with Maokai's being brought into the support role. They're showing Nas in top, which is fair, and a lot of the doubters on this TSM lineup with Huni in the top lane, with Speaker who's on his second split in the LCS, and PoE, a completely reformed TSM lineup built around the jungler instead of the mid lane. That's a huge switch up, and we're starting to see them work a bit more cohesively, and their last test in the first round of the lock-in tournament is against Team Liquid, which is probably, without a doubt, their hardest matchup, other than, I would say, 100 Thieves, who is probably going to top this group. Anyway, that's going to be it for this video. If you enjoyed it, leave a like down below, subscribe if you're new if you want to, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.